Okay, so we are going to go ahead and start. My name is Dr. Jill Blue. I currently serve as president of the Rolla Community Teachers Association. I welcome each of you to this year's School Board Candidate Forum. At this time, I would like to introduce to you our official timekeeper, Mr. Steve Blakely. Mr. Blakely. Mr. Blakely teaches math at Rolla Junior High. Along with Mr. Blakely, I would like to welcome Dr. Larry Gregg. Dr. Gregg comes to us from the Missouri University of Science and Technology and will serve as our moderator for this evening's forum. Larry Gregg is an emeritus professor of history at Missouri S&T, where he has taught for 43 years, after teaching junior high social studies in Fairgrove, Missouri. He is the author of 9 books on early American history and the history of Las Vegas. This fall, his Forged in Gold, A History of S&T, will be released to commemorate the campus's 150th birthday. In fall 2012, he moderated a debate in the 8th Congressional District election campaign. I introduce to you Dr. Larry Gregg.
Bump elbows.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Let's get started. We have the opportunity tonight to hear from 4 candidates for the Rolla School Board. The candidates are here to tell us what they would like to accomplish in the Rolla Public Schools if they are elected. We will hear from Carla Clayton, Susan Udaly, Tony Froelich, and Mark Sells. Carla Clayton and her husband Ken have a 5th grader at Rolla Middle School and 2 7th graders at Rolla Junior High. Carla has lived in Rolla for over 30 years, and her husband is a 1987 Rolla High School graduate. She graduated from Troy Buchanan High School and then attended Columbia College, where she earned a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. Carla is certified in strategic planning and has been certified by the Missouri School Board Association as an advanced board member. Carla works at Phelps Health as a program coordinator, where she manages and administers training and educational offerings for physicians, nurses, leadership, and staff. She loves being involved in her children's education. She is a member of the Rolla Middle School PTO and the Rolla Junior High Parent Group. She has also been a past treasurer for the Wyman Elementary PTO. Carla is a current school board member, school board treasurer, and is the second school board representative for the Champions of Rolla Education. Carla is seeking re-election to a second term on the Rolla Board of Education because of her passion to serve our children in the school district. Carla Clayton. Susan Udaly has been a resident of Rolla since 1983. She is married to Mark Udaly. They have one son, Stephen, who graduated from Rolla High School in 2006. Susan retired in 2012 after teaching for 32 years, with 29 years in the Rolla Public School District, where she taught kindergarten, 2nd grade, and the 3rd and 4th grade gifted programs. While teaching in Rolla, she was involved with the Salary and Welfare Committee, Professional Development Committee, implemented science nights at Wyman Elementary, and assisted in implementing the Wyman Green Team. She is a former president of the Rolla Community Teachers Association and was a member and 2-year president of the Rolla High Band Boosters. Susan's community involvement includes 17 years on the Rolla City Council for Ward 3, the Rolla Cancer Gala Committee from 1994 to 2013, and a Rolla Animal Shelter Fundraising Committee member. She has been involved with the American Solar Challenge and the Formula Sun Grand Prix solar car events, in charge of the logistics and observer crew from 2001 to the present. Her work experience includes being the former owner of Travel Tunes DJs. I like that job. Working as a National Park Service Ranger, working at Great Southern Bank and First State Bank, and is currently working at Blossom Basket Florist. Susan Udaly. Tony Froelich is married to Greta Froelich, who is a 6th grade teacher in Rolla. This is her 22nd year teaching. Tony moved to Rolla in 2004 and says it just became home shortly after moving here. He quickly started to get involved in the community and serving wherever he could. He's been with the American Family Insurance since 1993 and is currently the owner of the agency in Rolla. He has served on the school board since 2011. He is a current member of the Booster Club and a past board member. He is a past SIR board member, a Phelps Health Foundation advisory board member, Rolla Area Chamber of Commerce past president, Rolla Area Chamber of Commerce current board member, past advisory committee for RTI, past certified work-ready committee for Phelps County, and a current drug awareness. Mark Sells was born in Cedar Falls, Iowa, where his father was teaching in a nearby high school. He grew up in a family that respected education. His family moved to Kirksville, Missouri the year he started kindergarten, and he received his K-12 education there. His father spent 30 years as a professor at Northeast Missouri State, now Truman State. He graduated from Kirksville High School and was a Boy Stater, National Honor Society member, and a state champion wrestler. Following high school, he attended Central Missouri State University and graduated with a degree 4 years later, while being a 4-year letterman in wrestling. After a year of working, he went back to Central and earned a 7 through 12 life science teaching certificate. After receiving his certification, he was employed by the Rolla Public Schools to teach biology, botany, and ecology at Rolla High School. After 7 years of teaching and a stint of wrestling and volleyball coaching, he went to the middle school and taught 7th grade science for 8 years. Finally, he went back to the high school and taught biology and human anatomy and physiology for his final 16 years in the district. During many of those semesters, his anatomy and physiology classes were for dual credit through Drury University. He instructed students of Rolla Public Schools for 31 consecutive years. At times, he was also a coach and/or teaching evening classes for local colleges. In his final few years teaching, he had 3 very special things occur. 1, he coached 2 wrestlers to the state finals. Second, he received the National Honor Society Teacher of the Year Award. And lastly, he had the whole student body shouting, "Mr. Sells, Mr. Sells," during the teacher dance of 2014. He was also a most influential teacher for several National Honor Society members and participated on many committees and was a member of MSTA. He has been married for 36 years, and his wife has also worked for the school district in the past as a speech and language pathologist. All of his children graduated from Rolla and now have college degrees. He is now working at Sinks Pharmacy in Rolla. Mark Sells. Now, the guidelines for this event are as follows. In alphabetical order, each candidate will be given 3 minutes to give an opening statement. Each candidate will be asked questions on a rotating basis with a 2-minute time limit for responses. In reverse alphabetical order, each candidate will be given 2 minutes for closing statements. At this time, each candidate will be given 3 minutes to present their opening statements. Candidates, please watch our timekeeper. He will indicate the elapsed time at 2 minutes in green, 1 minute, blue, 30 seconds in orange, and time is up in pink, with a smiley face at the bottom.
Don't drop them and get them out of order.
Let's get started. I now present Carla Clayton.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight and taking the time to become an educated voter. Having a board that is fully invested in our children and educators is vital to and important. Your presence here tonight affirms my commitment and passion for this school district and everyone that is part of it. Having been on the Board of Education for almost 3 years now, I feel very blessed to be part of a strong and successful school district. We graduate hundreds of students a year that go on to have successful careers. In addition, we have a collaborative and respectful Board of Education that focuses on students and continued growth of our school district. The Board of Education has received a Governance Team Award from the Missouri School Board Association for the last 5 years, which 2 of those years I have been a proud serving member. This shows our commitment to continuous improvement through ongoing personal development, regional and state leadership, and active participation in legislative advocacy for public schools and the students that we serve. I'm not just a board member, but I'm an engaged board member. By participating in work group committees like the graduation committee, where we received input from parents and educators, and we moved graduation away from the Memorial Day weekend. I've taken part in the calendar committee, where along with educators and administration and students and parents, we've developed and finalized the calendar for the school year. As mentioned in my bio, I am a school board representative for CORE, which is an organization that financially supports enriched programs and activities in the school district where no other source of funding is available. As far as my background goes, in addition to a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration and certification in Strategic Planning and the Advanced Board Member certification, I have over 15 years of experience in project management. That includes long-range planning, continuous improvement initiatives, and implementation of global business strategies. As a parent of children in the school district, I invested in the growth and the prosperity of our Rolla Public Schools. I hope that this evening that you will find that my background and experience, that I'm a qualified candidate, and that you'll vote for me on April 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I present Susan Udaley.
I've been a teacher, past teacher for 32 years, and I think I bring a different perspective to the board if elected as a member. I don't know if we've ever had an elementary teacher on the board, and I just have a different point of view about things, and I love the school district. That's why I stayed here for so long. My son was a graduate here and has his own company in Springfield. He's very successful. He had wonderful teachers. And I have quite a bit of experience. I always wanted to be on the school board, but I was involved in city government, for 17 years. So when this opportunity arose, I thought, I'm going to go for it. I always told my students, don't let opportunities pass you by. So this is one of those opportunities. So if elected, I would work my hardest. People who know me know I do. I don't do anything lightly. I'm all in. So that's about all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Now let me present Tony Froelich.
First off, I do want to say thank you all for being here, and I like, as Carla mentioned, it's good to see you wanting to be an educated voter. I don't think we have enough of that in our country, let alone in our community. But I think what I bring might be a little bit of real world, having ran a business for about 27 years, the budgeting, the constant ebb and flow of change. But I'll also tell you that no matter how much you do in the world outside of school, you really don't know what's going on how a school is ran until you get involved on a school board. It's a lot different. I came in thinking I probably had some answers and things that I could help with, and it takes about 2 years of a whole lot of humbling to realize that you're one very, very small cog in a great big wheel, and you've got a lot to learn. We've got a great leadership team here. We've been very blessed to have a lot of strong board members over the years, and between the board and the admin team, Rolla has one way or another developed the reputation throughout our state as being a great school district. We're far from perfect, but we are a great school district, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be the last 9 years being on the board to help keep us moving in that direction, and would just appreciate any questions and answers individually. And what I do bring is a very open, flexible schedule that when a need arises, I'm usually able to help out. So that's what I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. And now let me present Mark Sells.
Well, I want to thank the RCTA for putting this on today. I appreciate that. I appreciate having the opportunity to speak to everyone and let everyone know that I'm running for the school board. And appreciate especially what all of our school board and administrators have done over the years. I'm proud to be a former teacher in this school district. Anywhere I go, Rolla is known far and wide as a great school district, and hopefully I was part of that, but also our administrators, school board, other teachers. I appreciate what they do every day, and I want to be able to bring that to the board and to support especially teachers, administrators, as a board member. I think I have a lot of experience in education. Like I said in my bio, I taught at the middle school, I taught at the high school, I was a coach. I've seen athletics things. I've had to work with athletic directors and principals, superintendents. But I look forward to serving the community. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the opening statements of the candidates. We will now begin with the round of questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to address the question, and the first question goes to Mrs. Clayton. And here it is. What motivates you to want to become a board member? What particular skills or experiences qualify you to serve as a school board member?
So what motivates me to be a school board member is that I want to serve the children in our school district. At the end of the day, that's what we're all here for. It's all about the kids. And my husband and I, we struggled to have children, and we're very blessed when they became part of our lives. And with that, during our journey, we were foster care parents, and so we experienced children that had to live with other family members, strangers, had to live in cars. And what I want the children to know when they enter the doors of the Rolla Public Schools is that they're welcomed and they're safe, and that they have a Board of Education that really cares about them and wants to make sure that they're successful. In addition to that, I also like volunteering. It's important to me because it's a chance to help others. And being on the Board of Education just provides a different level of volunteering that can reach all the children in our school district and can ultimately improve our community. And it also gives me a teaching opportunity for my children to show them how they can volunteer and give back to our community. As far as skills go, I didn't realize these were the same question. I thought they were two separate questions. Well, when you first come on the board, it's a big learning experience, as Tony had mentioned. And well, after a couple of years, you get it figured out. And so I've had the opportunity to take the Essential School Board training. I went on to have the school board certification. And so with those two things, I feel like I'm more educated now and would just like the continued opportunity to be on the board.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Udaley.
What motivated me, this is something I've always wanted to do, be on the school board. And as I said before, I was kind of involved with city council for 17 years, so that didn't happen for a while. But as far as my skills and experiences, I think 17 years in city council kind of helped a little bit with that, dealing with people, dealing with different groups. We had a group of 12, lots of different personalities, and I was one of the few council people that every year that would go to the Missouri Municipal League training for workshops and different conferences on topics coming up, sunshine law, different things like that. I've been involved in a lot of organizations. The Solar Car Innovators Educational Foundation is the overall umbrella group for the solar car race. Everybody says, oh, you're with the S&T team. No, this is the group that organizes all the events. So I've worked my way up in that group, and now I'm in charge of logistics and the observer managers. Planned the route drive, planned hotels for everybody on the crew. It was a big job. So I think I have a lot of people skills too. I've done a lot of things with, I was a park ranger for several years and before I was married. So I've done a lot with the public, and I think as an elementary teacher, I've always been known as like, someone who will listen to you. And it was city council. I've had people say, they'll call me when they wouldn't call other council people because they said they knew I would listen to them. And we do have a great school district, and, that's why I was here for 29 years. I love teaching in Rolla. And I sure do, I still miss the kids. It's been 8 years I've been out. But, so I think that says a lot, and I would really like to give to the school back.
Okay, thank you. Same question for Mr. Froelich.
Steve, you can put your timer away on this one.
I'm still going to time.
Okay.
Do my job.
More than anything else, I just have a heart to give back to the community. I can't think of a better way to do it than to working with our kids. I think you're probably going to hear that from all of us. You should hear that from all of us. As far as what do I bring, my career has been dealing with problems, and that's what you do. You have solutions to problems. So that's also a lot of what the board gets to bring and gets to do every day. During this time, I also did receive my master's certificate as a master board member. So there's an education process involved. Take it very seriously, do everything that we can to just keep improving Rolla.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Sells.
Okay. What motivates me is like Tony just said, we care about the community. That's really important. I moved here 34 plus years ago with my wife. We didn't have any kids then. We raised, our 3 kids here in the school district. They all graduated and have degrees now. I taught, 3 levels for qualifications. I've taught, middle school, high school, and then collegiately as well. So I see what's beyond, our school district and what's out there for, for the future. And then, so what's kind of needed for that. And then I've coached, so I've worked in the athletics area as well as teaching. And I think that's an important skill too. I think that's a lot of kids, that's really important for them is sports. And then on Friday afternoon, every Friday at the end of class, when the bell rang, I said, hold it. I want everybody to have a safe weekend because I want to see you all back here on Monday. Because I cared about my kids. That was real important, and I still care about them today.
Okay, thank you. The next question will start with Mrs. Udaley. The board recently unanimously supported placing a bond issue on the ballot. What would you anticipate as your level of support for any future district bond issues?
First, I would have to know what the future bond issue was. I can't just say I'm going to support it if I don't know what it is. I think that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, that's good, thank you.
If I don't know what it is, I'm not going to
Sure.
come out and say, yeah, I'll support it. This one I am supporting right now.
Okay, same question for Mr. Froelich.
Yeah, any bond issue is going to have to stand on its own 2 feet. The administrative team that we have and the board that we have right now would not consider putting a bond up that they hadn't already had feedback from the community saying it's something they want. So given the circumstances of the group we work with right now, I still can't say. And if you don't know what the bond's for, you can't say you're going to support it or not.
Okay, thank you. Same question for Mr. Sells.
Well, as far as the current bond issue, I'm very for it. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of the auditorium, the new auditorium, but that's awesome. I really look forward to seeing plays and school activities in there. That would be great. And a new gym. I think a new gym would be great too because we could probably have more events like district meets, district tournaments, things like that in there, and conference tournaments. So I think that's great. But again, you can't know what the future bond is. You can't really say, I'm going to support every bond. I'm not going to say that. But as far as this one goes, I think it'd be awesome.
Thank you, and Mrs. Clayton.
Yeah, so first, bond issues, they go for improvement and construction of facilities. And the level of support of a future bond would really depend on the needs identified and the proposal to meet those needs. I'm a very conservative person, so I don't take lightly my duty of stewardship for public funds. But let's, like everybody else, let's talk about the existing bond issue. You know, of course, being on the board, I voted for it, and was in favor of it, or am in favor of it, because, you know, it took many months to research done by the board and the planning committee to determine the needs of the school district. And we conducted the online surveys and phone surveys from the community, kind of narrowed that scope. And so I feel the input from the community and the needs identified through that planning process, that those items being requested, well, they match right up to our school district's mission by providing the best educational opportunities possible for our students. And for future bond issues, well, I would expect for us to go through that same process before I would support anything new.
Okay, thank you. This next question will start with Mr. Froelich. What do you see as the greatest challenge for the Rolla Public School District?
We deal with different challenges every day, and I think it's hard to not put the budget at pretty high on the list of the issues we have to deal with, because we never know how well we're going to be funded. I'm pretty quick to talk about the strength of our administrative team, the strength of the past boards that we've had is why we have a strong school district. But out of that strength has come a budget that has allowed us to pay our teachers a little bit better than most around. And that is very deliberate. It's the plan, because we will not have a strong school district if we don't have the best teachers. So I'm not complimenting the board and the admin team on their own. I'm saying that by doing the things they need to do, they've put themselves into position, or we have put ourselves into position to be able to hire and retain the best teachers out there. We don't have the direct impact on children from where we sit. We indirectly impact the children, and it's our teachers that have that impact. So to me, the challenge is to continue keeping a budget in such a way that we can continue focusing on being one of the better paid school districts for our teachers. To me, it's very impressive to see we're one of the lowest taxed districts for assessment in the Camdenton salary survey, but in almost every single situation, we are first, second, or third in how we pay our teachers out of that same survey of over 30 schools. So we have a history of doing the most with the least, and I'm pretty proud of that. So budget would be a priority.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Sells.
Well, of course, my biggest challenge is finding success for all students, regardless of socioeconomic, academic ability, but still finding success for those students. And you do that with, number one, great teachers. 2, classroom supplies. I think that's really important to get good classroom supplies, because you can't teach about bones without having some bones around. And, you got to have the supplies, and then good administration, which I feel pretty good about. And then 4, good facilities. And that's to me, those are the top 4 things that we need in the district. Another challenge, special needs students are a special challenge. We're seeing a lot more autism and things like that, so that's a big challenge for us. I also like physical fitness. I think we need to concentrate in schools on physical fitness, because that's a major thing in this country, is not being physically fit. And so that's something I'd like to see our school do a little more with.
Thank you, and I didn't appreciate you looking at me when you talked about us needing to be more fit. Did you notice that? He looked directly at me when he said that. Same question for Mrs. Clayton.
Yes. So I think one of our biggest challenges in the school district is the resources and services provided to students with mental health and behavioral health issues. You know, mental health is not just a challenge for the school district, it's actually a challenge for our community. It's listed as one of the top 3 growing concerns identified through the Phelps Health Community Health Needs Assessment. And with that, we need to continue to support and expand resources and services for students, teachers, and staff. Since my time on the board, we've contracted with Compass Health by adding therapy services to the Rolla Junior High and high school, and we've added aides to various schools in the district. We've also contracted with the Discovery School, which is just located right across town, and that really cuts down on the bus drive for those students that were attending Great Circle, and that just gives parents easier access to those children. We also have our continued services with prevention consultants using their mentor program. And we have principals that are always looking for alternative teaching methods, classroom designs, and professional development opportunities for educators. And Dr. Reed, she's amazing. She's continuing to look for collaborative entities that we can partner with so that we can provide other services for these students. So that's what I see as the greatest need, is just really putting effort into finding solutions to help make our children successful.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Udaly.
The budget, of course, is the greatest challenge, to keep a good budget. When I was on Salary and Welfare Committee, we'd go to those meetings, and MST would always compliment Rolla's budget. We always had a great one. And so that all leads into what I had written, attracting and retaining quality teachers. That's the key, of having good teachers, making sure they stay around, and we can attract more teachers that we need. Have good working conditions for the teachers and a wonderful environment for students to learn in. Good support from the board, the administration, and I think we have that. And a good background in curriculum. I know some schools that friends of mine go to, they don't have textbooks. I think Rolla has always done well by having supplies for students to use. So that's what I would think.
Okay, thank you. With this question, we'll start with Mr. Sells. Safety within the district is a high priority. What safety initiatives do you think would benefit the district?
Well, I'm not sure about all the schools. I know that the high school now, I believe you come in through the office, and I think that's a really important thing, is how entrances into the buildings are real important to be safe. So we need to do whatever we can to get us safer entrances into the schools. I think that's important. I support the safety resource officers. I think that's a good idea to have them in the buildings, and maybe that we could maybe get some more of those. That might be a good thing. I'm not a huge fan of the earthquake drill. Trying to get my students under the chair desk does not work really at all. So I'm not a big fan. I think we could, maybe not have that every year. I don't know.
Plus, it's hard to get off the ground.
Yeah,
Today, and I'm like trying to get off the ground.
They're more, they have more injuries doing the drill than they do, So I'm not a big fan of the earthquake drill.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Clayton.
Yeah, so, a lot of safety improvements that we want to make are actually embedded into our bond issue. And, that's really looking at the entrance, accesses to doors, improvements to our communication systems, implementation of visitor and volunteer tracking systems, and attendance and reunification systems. So it's really, I know we don't like taxes, but at the end of the day, it's really having that bond issue passed and seeing us putting those safety measures in place. That's really becoming is becoming necessary for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Udaly.
I'm with Mark. I like the way the high school is set, but I believe middle school is that way already, and Lyman. So Truman and
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain, yeah. You can just go anyway. So that needs to be worked on. And I also like the idea, and I was talked about the board meeting, keypads or punch-in numbers, because as an elementary teacher years ago, I misplaced my keys several times, and I'd panic that, oh gosh, they're going to have to change the locks at school, and I'm going to cost them money and stuff. So I like the keypad idea. about getting in and out of the building or swipe the card. So, I mean, I always found my keys. So, that would alleviate that, you know.
Okay, thank you. Same question for Mr. Froelich.
Well, Carla mentioned that as far as what level of priority do I place on it, everything that our current bond that we have out, every single part of that touches safety, whether it's visible and obvious or whether it's something that's not public. But every bit of that will touch on a safety issue. A lot of things that people don't think about on safety, we automatically think of the worst case scenario that we see on TV. And of course, that's tragic and that's horrible, but safety involves so many other things. And it is about entering a building. It is about keeping track of who's in your building and did they leave yet. It's about after a tragedy has occurred and everybody's out of the building, have we accounted for them? Can we tell mom where little Jimmy is? And that's all things that are already being worked on. Those are things being worked on whether the bond passes or doesn't pass. By passing the bond, it's going to happen a whole lot faster. We can only do so much at a time out of the current budget. There is no magic answer. I know Dr. Zalis has mentioned to us many times, statistically, school is still the safest place a child can be. And that's important to realize that you know, even with what we see on TV and how horrible it can be, it's still the safest place for a child to be. We need to make it safer. We need to continue focusing on it. Mental health is a crisis, and unfortunately that leads to some bad situations with safety. But in short, there just really isn't a magic answer. It's a continual review what we have and improve on it.
Thank you. This question will begin with Mrs. Clayton. What experience do you have with complicated budgets?
Okay. So my experience with budgets, of course, we have the school board, or the school district budget, excuse me. And I know it appears complicated because we have a lot of funds and money has to come in and out and what you can use it for. And luckily, we have Kendra, who is just fantastic, and she keeps us very well informed of the income and expenditures and funds and what we have available to use. As far as other experiences with budgets, I'm a program coordinator at Phelps Health, and so I manage projects and programs within a budget. And the rule of thumb, if it's not budgeted, you don't get it. I also am graded with staying within my budget, so it's important to be to make good financial decisions. I found, though, through the years that some of the most complicated budgets are not really based on size. And so, as a past treasurer of Wyman PTO, all the money from the budget comes from donations from parents and community members. And so, when you're spending money, well, you don't know if you're going to get to recoup that money. And so budgeting events and general costs to keep the program going requires you to be fiscally conservative. And so at the end of the day, no matter what size of a budget or how complicated the budget might be, it's all about the ability to be a good financial or make good financial decisions.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Udaly.
As far as the Rolla school budget, as I said, I served over 20 years on the Salary Welfare Committee, so I was exposed to our budget and for the salary increases or no increase. And I had 17 years on the City Council, which has now a current over $40 million budget. So I will have to say the City Council budget format is much easier to read than the school board budget. It's bigger print. So that means a lot to me these days. So that's my budget experience.
Okay, thank you. Same question for Mr. Froelich.
Once again, my friend Carla stole part of my thunder in praising Kendra. Kendra does a wonderful job for us. The school budget is a different animal than anything that you're going to deal with, I think, in any other kind of budget situation. But at the end of the day, I think we approach it with the idea that we are the stewards of other people's money. And at the end of the year, you better feel good about how you spent it. So it is a complicated one. I don't believe that any board member is going to be the expert on it, but I believe that we're obligated to be involved, to understand it as we go through it, to look at it with our admin team and know what we're spending and why. Because ultimately, we do approve it. The admin team, directed by Kendra, will know it inside and out better than what we will ever know it. But when they pull it together and break it down into things where we can go through a meeting and digest it and understand what we're doing each and every time. It is difficult, but you get over it. So my experience has been 9 years of doing it with the school.
Okay, thank you. And the same question for Mr. Sells.
Well, when I got out of college the first time, I worked at McDonald's. I was the assistant manager in charge of ordering. And you didn't want to run out of Coca-Cola. I know that. That's not something you want to do. I also had to order supplies and bid supplies as a science teacher, science supplies. But I don't have a lot of experience with really complex budgets, but I'm willing to learn too. So,
Thank you. The next question will start with Mrs. Udaly. The population of special needs and English language learners, or ELL students, is growing. Their needs can be quite different from most other students. How can the Rolla Public Schools better address the learning needs of these kinds of students?
To me, this is the most difficult question on here. First, you have to separate them out. ELL students and then the other special needs students. The ELL students, I think there's like 150 now. And my first thought was, well, do we have enough teachers? I think there's 2 teachers and an aide. So I don't know. Parent involvement, and I noticed on their volunteer website, there's a place for ELL parent involvement or volunteers to help with that program. So, I really don't feel I can answer that one really well. Now, the special needs students, are the classes equally spread out? Then you have gifted in there as well, and I taught gifted the last 12 years I was here. Do we need more teachers for that? Is there more space? So that's, I really don't feel I can answer those really well. You can always say, do we need to add more teachers? But do we have classroom space? Is there a budget for that? So
Okay,
this was a tough question for me.
thank you. Same question for Mr. Froelich.
She's right. It's a tough question. There isn't a quick answer to it. It's a constant monitoring of the student-to-teacher ratio. We're blessed with the population that S&T brings in and that the hospital brings in. But in that population, we have very diverse backgrounds, nationalities. At one time, I believe there was 32 different languages spoken as their primary language within our school district. I'm impressed by how well our teachers have done because that is a very, very unique dynamic in Rolla, Missouri. And yet, throughout the state, we are looked at as having done a great job of handling it. So, once again, it's a budget-driven. We would love to have double the number of teachers and assistants working there. Will that happen overnight? Surely it won't. Special needs is growing and growing in every district. The ELL grows in our district more than most, but special needs is growing everywhere. And it's just going to continue being something that in our budget we keep focusing on.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Sells.
well, I think I mentioned special needs as one of our biggest challenges earlier. But I'm going to go back to my 4 points. Teachers, number 1. Supplies, number 2. Administration and supportive administration for teachers and facilities. And that's, that's how you address the whole school district. It's how you address the special needs students as well. That's what I see for special needs.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Clayton.
Sure. So I think it goes back to what I said earlier about expanding resources and services for our students and our teachers and our staff. I actually have a child with special needs, and so I know the challenges that teachers and staff face. And, we've tried on the school board, we've approved to try to help in this area by the contracting with the Compass Health and, as I mentioned, the Discovery School. We've also got Dr. Reed, who just really does understand the growth of the population of these students. And she's just continuing to collaborate with other organizations to try to expand those resources. We also have counselors that are looking at, in our different schools, that are looking at college interns that major in psychology to come and work with these students. We've got Compass Health that provides educational offerings to teachers and staff on how they can work with children. We've got Dr. Ray at Wyman, who has the Conscious Discipline, which really provides tools and techniques for teachers working with special needs and behavioral health issues. So we've done a lot in this area. It doesn't mean that we're done, and we need to continue to support it, as Tony had mentioned. On the population of English language, we've got programs in place that really help students. With instruction, they get about 30 to 60 minutes a week. We also have Rosetta Stone that can be checked out, that's provided to the students and the parents. We've got teachers, the ELL teachers, that can tutor outside of school, and that's part of our RISE program. So again, we've got things going on. We're trying to help in both of these areas, but we do need to continue to support these students.
Thank you.
Wow.
Whoa, she nailed it with 2 seconds left.
Stressful.
Great job.
We'll start the answers to this question with Mr. Froelich. What challenges have you faced working in a group, and how did you help facilitate solving those challenges?
I think any community project or board or group that I've been involved with, you quickly find that you're one voice of many. And everybody has an opinion, everybody has a thought, everybody has an idea. And you got to realize yours is just one of all of the others. You've got to be able to listen. One of my favorite sayings, you need to listen to understand, not to respond. I said that kind of smiling and look at my wife, because I think as a group, I think I do that pretty well, and she may not give me the same passing grade at home. But listening to understand is really deep if you think about it, rather than listening to respond. We typically listen to respond. By listening to understand, I think with that attitude, you can be a very valuable member to any board, any group, any association, and just understand that it's about moving forward in a positive manner for the whole group. There's been many times I've had ideas that either weren't the best or didn't have enough support, and we went a different way, and I supported the other direction. That's what you need to do.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Sells.
One time in my Sunday school class, the Sunday school teacher asked us to think about somebody they didn't get along with. I had a terrible time coming up with one person that I didn't get along with. I pretty much get along with everybody. If you know me, I pretty much get along with everybody. And in a big group, I'm not ego-driven. I try to, get along, but listen. And if I'm a new board member, I'm going to do a lot of listening, because I'm going to need to be learning a lot at the beginning. So I was president of my home ec society at Central Missouri State, which was it was all girls except me. and I ended up being the president because I could get along.
Oh. Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Clayton.
Yes. So having over 15 years of experience in project management, I'm used to working with groups. I've learned over the years that groups that collaborate better when you let everyone have a chance to be heard. Not everyone is going to come into a group having the same vision or having the same ideas. But if you just take the time to listen and to everyone to ensure that everyone's on the same page, right? So that makes a better outcome for the group. In addition to listening, you need to give them the time to process the information. Not everyone is quick at making decisions, and some just need a few more minutes, maybe a few hours, some might need a few days. But there's a learning to that, because When that person comes back, you have time to think things over. You might even generate some new ideas as a result of that time. I think another lesson too is making sure that you don't let the one person dominate the entire group, right? So you want to make sure to provide a comfortable environment so everybody feels like that they can speak their mind and be heard.
Thank you. And same question for Mrs. Udaly.
Okay, I go back 17 years in city council. I mean, do I need to say more? But I was kind of the person on that. A lot of times people would get off task, and you all didn't see all this on TV. Some of it was in closed session, and I would usually be the one that would say, okay, we're getting off course here. Let's get back on track. Because I'm a person, I don't want to waste time. I want to get the job done and get it taken care of. So I would try to keep folks on task, stay calm, and keeping emotions out of it. People can get very emotional about stuff, but sometimes you have to stick to the facts of a topic. So that's what this is some of the challenges I've had.
Thank you. And if you think city council is tough, you ought to be with a bunch of windbags at the university. Did I say that?
On TV.
This question will start with Mr. Sells, and of all the questions tonight, this is the one I'm glad I'm not up there to answer, because this is a tough one. An individual school board member has no authority. Only the board as a whole can make decisions for the district. Given that, how would you handle a situation where a parent approached you about a student or teacher concern?
Well, I think I'd say exactly that right back. I have no authority with a teacher or a student. But hopefully I could point them in the right direction of who to talk to. You know, principal, teacher, someone else, you know. But because again, you just said it, we don't have authority in that. So I would pass that on to somewhere else.
Okay, thank you. Same question to Mrs. Clayton.
Yes. So actually, this has happened to me when I first came on the board. You will get approached by people that want to share their frustration. And what I found is that sometimes you just give them a chance to kind of let them vent and voice their concerns or give their feedback. Sometimes they don't want you to take any action, but if there is action taken, or even if there's not, you always recommend to parents that and tell them that there's a chain of command. And you educate them by first telling them to go to the teacher. If they're not successful in that, you send them to the principal, and then if necessary, they go up to administration. Very seldom did the board get involved with parent issues. Our leadership, they're capable of taking care of the situation, and they're very accommodating in most cases. Sometimes, if for some reason it does have to come to the board, we are accommodating, we listen with their concerns, but again, stressing that administration, principals, and teachers, they're very equipped to address the issues, and we're all kind of here for the same purpose, and that's to help make our children successful.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Udaly.
Pretty much the same answer. I politely, listen to them and then just tell them you need to go through the chain of command, where the teacher, principal.
Okay,
I really can't add much more to what they've said.
okay, thank you.
That's what we should do.
And the same question for Mr. Froelich.
Yeah, and that does happen a lot. In my realm, due to my natural inclination to be around athletics, I oftentimes am kind of targeted by people that want to complain about a coaching situation or a playing time situation or something like that, more to do with athletics. And for some reason, that seems to be where there's a little more energy expressed also. They're not quite as worried about their son struggling in math, but boy, if he didn't get enough playing time, they're pretty upset about it. And you do learn you've got to give them, that's why we're here. They should be able to talk to you. You need to be able to respect them enough to hear them. But at the end of the day, you do not want them to have any doubt that you are not the answer to their problem. You're going to help direct them through that chain of command. You have to show the support through the system. If the system breaks down, that's where our job is. If we believe it's not being handled according to board policy, at that point, the board does get involved. Fortunately, that doesn't really need to happen. Our teachers, our administrators are going to take care of the problem.
Thank you. And this is an appropriate last question, and we'll start with Mrs. Clayton. If elected, what would you hope would be a key accomplishment of the board during your years of service?
So I'd like to see the bond issue passed. I think all of us on the board would like to see that and see those 5 concepts that we have identified in our long-term facility plan be completed. And that includes the safety and security, improvements to the facility, the performing arts facility, auditorium, and gym at the Rolla High School, the band and music classrooms at the Rolla Junior High, the new library and new entrance at Truman, and the building renovations at RTI. However, if it doesn't pass, that doesn't mean the board stops. We continue on. We just may have to reprioritize. And if that's the case, then I definitely think the safety and the security improvements to our facility would be high on my list. I think those upgrades to those entrances, those improvements in the communication systems, and those implementation of visitors and volunteer tracking systems, those are things that we really need to get in place.
Thank you. Same question for Mrs. Udaley.
If elected, your term is 3 years, so you're not promised more than 3 years. So my goal would be in the 3 years, if the bond issue passes, I would love to see all those improvements happen. I believe you said 2023, they hope to have this all done if the bond issue passes, and I hope it does. I'm looking forward to the improvement at Truman Library. I was in the classroom above the Truman Library, so I would love to see the Truman Library become improved. Performing Arts Center, the new gym. I think my husband graduated in 1970, and the gym was already there so that's what, 50, they're coming to their 50th reunion. The improvements at RTI, the safety issues. That's what my goal would be the next 3 years if elected.
Thank you. Same question for Mr. Froelich.
Well, first off, I'm going to tell you the bond is going to pass. All right, we're confident in that. I really believe it will. It should pass. It's something very needed. So I have every confidence we'll be doing that and moving forward. I think at the end of the day, being stewards of other people's money, the goal that I have at the end of my time on the board is to leave our district academically a little bit stronger than we were, and financially to be a little bit stronger than we were. I don't know we can ask for much more than that.
Thank you. And the same question for Mr. Sells.
Well, I'm gonna, support the bond issue with, get the auditorium and the gym and the enhancements to Truman and RTI. Very important things to get done and accomplished for this district. Also, and I would like to see our state test scores increase, and great programs for special needs students. I think we need to really focus on that a little bit, and physical education. But you do that through budget, and that's how you do it. You do it through budgeting. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. This concludes the question portion of the forum. The candidates will now have 2 minutes to present a closing statement, and we'll do this in reverse alphabetical order from the opening statement. So we'll begin with Mr. Sells.
Again, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I appreciate it. I'm going to harp on the 4 things that I said earlier. I'm going to say them again. Number 1, teachers. We got to have the best teachers. We got to have supplies for the teachers, and we got to have good administrative teams, and we got to have great facilities for our students, and that's the main things I'm going to be focusing on as a board member. And I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Froelich.
Mr. Sells indicated and reminded me earlier that it was my son that led the chant for Mr. Sells, Mr. Sells, Mr. Sells. So I think he probably was right. I may not have known about it at the time, but they had some fun with that. In conclusion, there's a lot going on in this district. With Dr. Zales retiring, we've been fortunate enough to move Mr. Hounsome into his position. Dr. Dare moving into his. Dr. Williams, we've already hired. We have a lot of people doing a lot of new things. We have a $25 million bond sitting out there, $31 million worth of projects that we expect to complete by taking $6 million out of the bank. I think there may be some value to keeping as much continuity as we can, and that would also go from a board member. there's enough change going on right now that I think there may be a little bit of value to try to keep some continuity there. We just appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, and Mrs. Udaly.
I want to thank our CTA for sponsoring this and all of you coming out, and hopefully you'll get to the ball game in time if you're going to that. I just want to say, you guys have a tough decision. I mean, I would speak for myself too. You've got 4 good people up here, you know, and 3 people are going to be on the board, and it's going to be a tough decision. You know, after hearing all this, you're not going to make a bad choice, whoever you do pick. I hope you vote for me as one of those 3. But I bring a different perspective as a retired elementary teacher, a straightforward approach, and I'll listen to concerns and just let my experience work for you and our children. Thank you.
Thank you, and Mrs. Clayton.
Yes. So thank you again, everyone, for coming tonight and again taking the time to become an educated voter. I hope through this candidate forum that my current success being on the board, that and with my background and experience, that it qualifies me to continue to be on the Board of Education. I want to continue to serve the children in our school district. Again, I'm a parent, and I have children in the school district, and I'm vested in the growth and prosperity of our Rolla Public Schools, and I would appreciate your vote on April the 7th to re-elect me to the Rolla Board. Thank you.
Thank you, and before I turn this back over to you, could I make 2 editorial comments? One thing that struck me about all 4 of these people is I read their biographical sketches and I heard their statements. They're all impressive. And I actually told them, when I read their biographical sketches, it made me tired. Because of all the things that they've done and they're still doing. And secondly, I thought the questions were excellent. I thought they covered a broad range of topics and really challenged them, so I thought that was very well done.
On behalf of the Rolla Community Teachers Association, I'd like to thank each of you for attending. I also owe a huge thank you to Mr. Steve Blakely for being our timekeeper and Dr. Larry Gregg for being our moderator this evening. Thank you very much. Your service is truly appreciated. Candidates, your comments have been both educational and enlightening. I wish each of you the best of luck in the upcoming election, and I encourage everyone to get out and vote on April 7th. Have a great evening.
Thank you. There's a ball game to get to, folks. It's a great day to be a Bulldog.
It is.
Thank you.
And a choir concert at the church, too. There's a choir concert tonight, too,
And the choir concert
at First Baptist.
at First Baptist.